transitioning into a little bit of an SEC matchup, being that number 11 Tennessee going at Florida, who is 1-1. This is kind of a little sleeper. Obviously, huge rivalry. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. We on our graphic we put Tennessee on potential upset alert this weekend.
Yep.
Why?
Yeah, so I was digging in this game because I saw something. It was like Tennessee have lost 9 straight games in the swamp, and for an SEC team, that kind of opens your eyes a little bit. I was like, 9 straight in the swamp. So I was digging into their match history and kind of the games they've played in recent history, and Florida is 16-2 against Tennessee since 2005.
Wow!
So they have lost 2 games in the last 18 years. So, like you said, this is a rivalry game. This is a game that does mean a lot to both teams, and we kind of saw that game last year.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee came out, playing pretty tough. Florida obviously, made
made a comeback,
some plays down the stretch. Yeah, to bring
it was a little too late.
Yeah, I think they had the Hail Mary attempt at the end.
Yeah,
fell a little short. But if you don't think Florida's going to be ready for this game, I just don't know what to tell you.
Oh yeah,
if you think of Florida's seasons last year, for the most part, it was pretty disappointing. But they got the win over top 10 Utah earlier in the season. You got another, close to top 10. You got number 11 team in the country coming into town. I think that Tennessee could be in trouble here.
Yeah, and similar to Utah was last year, going in the swamp. Obviously, Utah turned out to be the better team, but Florida just performs better in the swamp, and that's just how they are. And if you think about a recruit who wants to go to Florida, the importance of this game, going into that school and going in and beating Tennessee, I mean, that's kind of like what you go there for. Is this rivalry is so big. You think back on Swamp Kings, it's like they kind of discussed the importance of, beating Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, this, even though Florida, they're 1-1 coming off a little bit of a downer season last year, they're going to come out and they're going to want to win this game as much as Tennessee does, even though Tennessee is, starting off top 10 and top 11 in the nation.
Yeah. And Tennessee's a weird team. Obviously they lost Hendon Hooker to the NFL. Joe Milton takes over. They played really well against Virginia, but I think we're starting to learn that Virginia might be they might be the new Colorado.
Yeah.
They might be one of the worst, Power 5 teams in the nation. And then last week against Austin Peay, it was a close game.
Yeah.
It was 23-13 with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it really was, only a 2-score game late in the fourth or getting into the fourth. So it kind of begs the question, because Tennessee and Florida both played FCS teams last week. Florida obviously took care of their FCS team at home, beat them handily, 49-7, I believe. And Tennessee struggled a little bit. So you kind of wonder, is Tennessee not really clicking on all cylinders yet? Is there potentially a chance that Graham Mertz, has a game?
Yeah.
And I don't think Graham Mertz has necessarily played terrible.
Yeah.
He threw for, over 300 yards against Utah in the first game of the season. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of what the game plan is for Florida. I assume they're going to try to run the ball. But that's also what Tennessee's going to try to do. So whatever team can stop the run, they're going to be in good shape going into this one.
Yeah. Let's talk about that receiver of Florida, Pearsall.
Ricky
Pearsall. He was a dog. I mean, we got to see him in person 2 years in a row at both those Utah matchups. And, it seemed like he was the target more than 50% of the time. And he's very efficient.
Yeah. And that was a real game plan. It looked like Billy Napier wants to get the ball into Ricky Pearsall's hands. Because when Ricky Pearsall has the ball in his hands, plays can be made. And I think that if Florida plays this right, and they can get the ball into Ricky's hands and have him make a play and go up early on Tennessee, get the swamp into it, get the fans going, get the team going, I think this could be a really scary game for Tennessee, especially with the history that's there of them not performing too well down in the swamp. I think it could be a really, really tough game for them. And I'm interested to see, because I think Billy Napier really needs a signature win again.
He does.
To really kind of get everybody back on his side. I think everyone was all aboard the bandwagon after the Utah win. Then the rest of the season didn't really play out too favorably. I think he's starting to lose everybody again. But if he can get a big win over Tennessee at home, I think that's the perfect step to getting everybody back on the Billy Napier train.
Yeah, and Urban touched on that in the documentary, how it was like, after a big loss, it was like, I mean, he couldn't even go into a bar without getting cussed out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So definitely a must win for the coach there. And then, based off all that, who do you got winning the game?
I'm going with Florida.
Wow.
I'm going with Florida Gators. I believe that Joe Milton, I'm a big Joe Milton fan I'm a big fan of QBs that are just freaks. And that's what Joe Milton is.
Freak athlete.
He's got all the intangibles. He's got everything you want. He just needs to refine some of his skills. He needs to get more accurate. He needs to run the offense a little bit better and know the offense a little bit better. But I think he's very similar profile to AR. I think AR was a lot more ahead of schedule than he was, which is why he went so high in the draft. But I don't know. I think if the Swamp really gets going, I think if Florida gets on the board first, Swamp really gets behind that defense, they force a couple turnovers, I think it could be a really, really long day for Tennessee. So don't be surprised if Tennessee goes into Gainesville and doesn't get the job done, because I think this is probably the most likely upset of the week.
Really? Okay. I'm gonna go Tennessee. I do agree that Florida or Tennessee is on upset alert, but I think Florida or Tennessee will get it done.
Yeah, Tennessee's going to have to they're going to have to run the ball through Jabari Small. And if they don't get it done that way, then it could be a rough afternoon.
Yeah.